Right now, and every day after this one, your body is producing microscopic cancer cells. That's not a scare tactic, it's basic biology. Most of us will develop tiny clusters of abnormal cells at some point in our lives without ever knowing it. So why doesn't everyone get cancer? Because your body has built-in defense systems. And one of the most powerful, one that most people have never even heard of, is called angiogenesis. It's the mechanism that controls whether tiny cancer cells can grow a blood supply and become a real, dangerous tumor or stay dormant and harmless forever. Here's what most people don't realize. You can influence this system, not with a prescription, with food. Today, I'm going to show you 4 foods backed by real research that help starve cancer's blood supply, calm the inflammation that fuels tumor growth, and strengthen your body's natural defenses. Let's get into it. Section 1. The concept. Angiogenesis 101. Let's start with the why, because you need to understand this to understand why these foods matter. Inside your body, blood vessels are constantly being built and broken down. This is angiogenesis, literally the birth of blood vessels. It's how wounds heal, how muscles recover after exercise, how your body maintains itself. But cancer cells hijack this exact same mechanism. A microscopic tumor can't grow bigger than the head of a pin without recruiting its own blood supply. Think about it like a construction site. Without roads bringing in materials, nothing gets built. No blood supply, no oxygen, no nutrients. The tumor cells stay small and harmless, sometimes for a lifetime. Here's the foundation of angiogenesis research. Your blood vessels are a battlefield, and specific dietary compounds, the ones I'm about to walk you through, help tip that balance in your favor. Section 2. Why this matters more than ever. Autopsy studies on people who died from causes other than cancer, car accidents for example, have found microscopic undetected tumors in the thyroid, breast, and prostate in a surprisingly high percentage of adults. These people never knew. They never got sick. Why? Because in most of us, the body successfully keeps these cells starved, blocked from building the blood supply they need to grow. But that balance isn't fixed. It shifts based on your sleep, your stress levels, and this is the part most people underestimate, your diet, meal after meal, year after year. Diets high in ultra-processed foods and added sugar promote chronic low-grade inflammation. And inflammation is essentially fuel poured onto a fire that's already smoldering. Diets rich in specific plant compounds do the opposite. Here's the takeaway. Cancer isn't just about whether abnormal cells exist, it's about whether your body can keep them in check. And diet is one of the most direct levers you have to help with that. One you get to pull 3 or 4 times a day, every single day. Section 3. The gut connection. One more piece of the puzzle before we get to the foods, your gut microbiome. Trillions of bacteria in your digestive tract play a direct role in regulating inflammation and training your immune system to recognize abnormal cells. And some even help convert the compounds we're about to discuss into more active forms once they reach your bloodstream. A healthy gut supports stronger immune surveillance, the process by which your body patrols for and clears out abnormal cells before they become a problem. A gut thrown out of balance does the opposite, quietly working against you for years without a single obvious symptom. Diet, gut health, and cancer defense aren't separate conversations. They're one conversation, which is exactly why the foods below do double duty, working on your blood vessels and your gut bacteria at the same time. Section 4, the 4 foods 1. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, but here's the key most people miss. Lycopene becomes far more available to your body when tomatoes are cooked and paired with a healthy fat like olive oil. Raw tomato salad is nutritious, but a slow-cooked marinara sauce actually delivers more usable lycopene, not less. Studies have linked higher lycopene intake to reduced markers associated with prostate cancer risk, and researchers have observed anti-angiogenic activity from lycopene in laboratory models, meaning it appears to interfere with the signaling tumors rely on to build new blood vessels. Think of lycopene like a fire extinguisher for the oxidative damage that can trigger unwanted blood vessel growth around abnormal cells. Easy way in: marinara sauce, roasted tomatoes, drizzled in olive oil, or canned tomatoes on a busy weeknight. They retain most of their lycopene through the canning process. 2. Green tea. Green tea contains a polyphenol called EGCG, one of the most studied anti-angiogenic compounds in food science. In lab and early clinical research, EGCG has been shown to interfere with the signals tumors send out to recruit new blood vessels. Picture it as cutting the supply lines before an army can even mobilize. Beyond its anti-angiogenic properties, green tea's polyphenols are also potent antioxidants, helping protect your DNA from the oxidative damage that can trigger mutations in the first place. Easy way in, 2 to 3 cups a day, steeped hot for a few minutes, not instant or bottled, which lose much of the polyphenol content during processing. Turmeric. The active compound curcumin is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds found in nature. Since chronic inflammation fuels abnormal cell growth, calming it down is protective on its own, and curcumin has also been studied for interfering with tumor blood vessel signaling. The catch: curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed. Almost all of it passes through unused unless you pair it correctly. Easy way in, pair with black pepper. The piperine dramatically boosts absorption, by some estimates up to 20-fold, and add a fat source since curcumin is fat-soluble. Think golden milk, curry dishes, or roasted vegetables. 4. Berries, especially strawberries and dark berries. Berries are loaded with ellagic acid and anthocyanins, polyphenols shown in research to suppress the formation of new blood vessels feeding abnormal cells, while also feeding the beneficial gut bacteria that support your immune defenses. Generally speaking, the darker and more intense the color, the higher the polyphenol content. Easy way in, a cup a day, fresh or frozen. Frozen locks in polyphenols at peak ripeness and is often nutritionally comparable to fresh. Toss into oatmeal, a smoothie, or eat straight as a snack. Section 5. What to pull off your plate. Foods that help are only half the equation. Ultra-processed foods, loaded with refined sugars and additives your grandmother wouldn't recognize as food, drive chronic inflammation and disrupt your gut microbiome. Added sugar and sugary drinks promote insulin resistance, and elevated insulin has been shown to promote blood vessel growth around abnormal cells. And don't assume diet soda is automatically safer. Some research suggests artificial sweeteners disrupt the same gut bacteria we talked about. Excess red and processed meat, especially charred or heavily processed varieties like bacon and deli meat, has been linked in multiple large studies to increased cancer risk, likely through inflammatory compounds and byproducts formed during high-heat cooking or curing. None of this means never again. It means noticing what fills most of your plate, most of the time, and shifting that pattern in a direction that works with your body instead of against it. Section 6. Lifestyle multipliers. Diet doesn't work in isolation. Sleep is when your immune system does much of its repair work. Chronic deprivation is linked to elevated inflammation and reduced immune function. Exercise lowers systemic inflammation and has its own independent anti-angiogenic effects. Even a brisk 30-minute walk most days measurably shifts your internal chemistry. Stress management matters too. Chronic stress elevates cortisol and other hormones that over time feed the same inflammatory environment we've been discussing all video. Breathing exercises, time outdoors, and real social connection all measurably lower that load. Stack these habits on top of the foods, and you're not relying on one lever. You're building a system where multiple factors reinforce each other in the same direction. Section 7. Food as a habit, not a cure. I want to be really clear. No single food prevents or treats cancer. That's not what the research shows, and anyone who tells you that is overselling it. What the research does show is that these foods, eaten consistently over years, as part of an overall dietary pattern, shift the odds in your favor. Perfection isn't the goal here. Direction is. Section 8. Personal/authority. Moment. Early in my research career, I remember looking at those autopsy studies for the first time, seeing how many people were walking around with dormant cancer cells and never knew it, and thinking, if the body already knows how to do this, our job isn't to invent something new, it's to support what the body is already trying to do. That idea has shaped almost everything I've studied since. We spend so much energy looking for the next breakthrough drug, and rightly so, those matter enormously. But sitting quietly in the produce aisle of an ordinary grocery store is a set of tools your body already knows how to use. So here's what I want you to take away. Your body fights cancer every single day, and food is one of the most powerful, accessible tools you have to help it. Tomatoes, green tea, turmeric, berries. Start with one. Build the habit. Let it compound. Pair that with pulling back on the ultra-processed stuff, sleeping enough, and moving your body, and you're actively reinforcing a system your body has been running since before you were born. If you found this helpful, hit like and subscribe. I put out new videos every week on the science of food as medicine. And if you know someone who could use this, send it their way. I'll see you in the next one.